Welcome to Women at Halftime podcast. For men and women at mid-career or the halftime of life with issues that concern you. Maximize your skills, resources, and experience to live an even more fulfilling and significant second half of life. Right here with me, Deborah Johnson, on Women at Halftime podcast. Well, hello. It is so great to be here with you today with a very, very special guest. Although all of our guests are very special, but this one especially, to be able to have Naomi Rhode. And I wanted to talk about this subject of mentoring. And there are very few people that I would ask to be able to interview about this subject than Naomi. Naomi has more credits than we can even list. And I will put, of course, in the article, I read an article with every podcast. So you will be able to get to all of her links, but she's got a lot of credits. She's been around for a very long time with speaking, and she's been president of the national organization. And so Naomi, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. I think this idea of podcasting for you to this audience is incredible. And I'm honored to be part of it, Deborah. It's just going to be fun.
Well, with your experience and your heart, I would say I am so attracted to you because of your heart. And I think so much of teaching is, because I've taught for so many years, and you have too in the music field, so much of it is just not information. It's transferring the love and the heart. And that's what you totally have. And strong belief, strong faith. And I'm just so glad that's all going to come up today. So that's a wonderful thing. So, well, as a reminder, a couple things. You can always go on my website, make sure that you grab these weekly newsletters that I get and articles. They all come out, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletters. And of course, I have a million websites, so you can find me almost anywhere. So, but I'll put all the links to the in the podcast notes as well. So Naomi, let's just kind of dive in. You've had so much experience, and you've even started organizations and all of that. But when did mentoring, because we're talking about mentoring, and what does mentoring mean to you, first of all?
Well, I think that's good to set the stage for this. Mm-hmm. And the why, the behavioral objective why, mm-hmm. and the how and the when. And I lost my dad when I was 13. He was an incredible mentor. Mm. I lost my mother when I was 23. She was an amazing mentor. And I can remember looking around thinking, you know what, there is a biblical concept that older women are supposed to teach younger women. Older women are supposed to care for younger women. And everybody is older than someone. So mm-hmm. you could be 20 and older than a 13-year-old, or 25 and older than an 18-year-old, or you could be my age and older than just about everybody. So everybody is older than somebody. Yes. And the older are to teach the younger. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Well, I remember wandering around the paths of my life professionally mm-hmm. and spiritually, within the church, outside the church, and other organizations, looking for older women who were wise, mm-hmm. who would maybe teach me something, put their arm around me, so as to speak. And I found out that many of them were interested in their own little cliques and going to lunch with their own little cliques, and not particularly interested in the younger people. And I became passionate about the fact that I would be always interested in someone younger. Now, it doesn't have to be even younger in age. Mentoring is often younger in experience, professionally, let's say, or in business. The new hires in your organization, who mentors them? Who comes alongside of them? So it doesn't have to be age related, but often it is age related. And I became passionate about that very, very early in my life. And I think that establishes a little bit of the why and the how and when it became a passion for Naomi.
Wow. Yes. And I think your definition that it doesn't need to be somebody just one younger in age. And so many times, especially professionally, there are people just coming up that need what you have, some of that common sense experience.
Well, you and I are both members of the National Speakers Association.
Right.
It was started by a gentleman by the name of Cabot Robert a long time ago, 55 years ago or so. And he started it with the whole concept that it would be different than other associations because we would be building a bigger pie, so as to speak, so that everybody had a bigger piece of the pie. So you were not proprietary about your information, your skill, your talent, your contacts. Indeed, when you went to your conventions or your meetings, you'd look for the newcomers and you'd say, hey, you're new here. Let me help you. Let me show you the program and what breakouts you might want to go to. We would purposely go into their lives because that's the philosophy of this particular association, the National Speakers Association. It's the Cabot spirit. Now, that is, I think, unusual in most associations. And I think it's probably unusual in churches or synagogues.
Yes.
We go and we seek our own rather than to say, oh, you're new. I'd like to get to know you. Let's have a cup of coffee after we have this service or whatever.
Yes.
It's that kind of reaching out that not only broadens your life, but certainly touches theirs. So I see mentoring as being huge in the give and take of life.
And Naomi, there's so much behind some of this and especially with women, I think with men as well. But confidence is the number one obstacle, especially after the age of 40 with the studies that have been shown. And it's the number one reason that people don't take risks. And that's a risk sometimes, stepping up and meeting somebody new and not having the confidence to be able to do that. You think, oh, they're not going to want to hear from me or whatever. But we've gotten away from that somewhat, I think, with all of maybe some of the expectations or some of the things that we put on ourselves as well, the self-doubt and all of we compare constantly. And I think we can't get beyond ourselves many times. And we're kind of struggling along thinking, okay, so how am I going to help somebody else? But as you know, as you help somebody else, boy, you help yourself at the same time. It always comes back around and is so fulfilling and wonderful. And having that spirit, I think, there's a lot of organizations that don't have it or are losing it because they're not outreach.
One of the things I think that you learn as a professional speaker, for example, if you're really going to be successful, and I think this could transfer into other areas of professionalism, if you're really going to be successful, you're going to be on the platform, whatever platform it is, not for yourself. But for the audience, whatever the audience is. So if you're on the platform of friendship, for example, you're going to coffee with that person, not for yourself, not to see whether they'll like what you wear or how you do your hair or what car you're driving. But you're there to say, hey, how's life going for you? You are there for that audience at that time. And it makes life so exciting and so interesting, I think.
And businesses, I read a lot, listen to books as well. And I had never gone through, the story of Walmart with Sam Walton. The whole secret of success was focusing on the customer. Right. It was all about the customer. They just kept coming back and back. And then their associates and building into their teams and all of that. It was all about others. And it wasn't just this.
Other directed.
Others directed.
Really are other directed. Then you will see the person who could really benefit from a helping arm. Now, I think mentoring, there are different types of mentoring. I think there are short-term mentoring, standing in the hallway of a convention and you're talking with someone and helping them to perhaps know their way around this convention and not feel like they're an outsider. That's very short-term. But there is a longer term where someone might say to you, boy, would you talk with me occasionally and help me with this? Of course I would. That's a different type of mentoring. And then, oh dear, there's a long-term mentoring. And I do a lot of that. And examples of that, maybe, a gal came up to me after I'd spoken at a women's conference in Louisville, and she had driven from Tennessee to be at this big conference, thousands of women, and she came up to me, very attractive, probably 20 years younger than me, 25 years younger maybe, and yet shy. I could tell she was shy. And she said to me, if I emailed you, would you email me back?
Oh.
It's
There you go.
an invitation to mentoring. I said, of course I would. That was probably 20 years ago.
Wow.
And she has become a daughter of my heart. That's what I call it. The first time she came from Tennessee to visit me in Phoenix, I heard her sobbing in the bedroom, in the guest room, in the middle of the night. And I went and knocked on the door, said, can I help? She said, yes, I don't think I know really who my real father is.
Oh my
whether
gosh.
it was my mother's boyfriend or whether it was my dad. Yeah, okay. I need go no further. You see how mentoring can go far beyond the professionalism with which it started and can become very personal. But this woman has gone on. She has a very strong marriage and a strong family and grandchildren now, and still lives in Tennessee. And there's probably not a week that goes by that there's not an email or a phone call. And I'm going to be there and visit her in May, and she comes to visit once a year. Here, she's a daughter of my heart.
Oh.
And there was a speaker, well, this is just two examples, that came to me. It's her first day at NSA. And she said, someone told me I should talk to you. Okay, I don't know who it was, but thanks. So I had brought something. I had just spoken in Russia. And I'd been given a very special pin. And I had said to the Lord, because I'm spiritually connected, what should I do with this pin? And I had the feeling that I should take it to NSA, to National Speakers Association, and give it to somebody. So she stood there and said, I'm brand new and I don't know anything about being here. And I said, well, do you have a few minutes? Oh, yes, I do. I do, because someone said, I had to talk to you. I said, would you like to come up to my room? I brought something from Phoenix for you.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was probably 18 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
She's worn that pin on the inside of her jacket every time she's spoken since, and has become another daughter of my heart. And calls me every once in a while. She's not married, and what do I do about this? And what do I do about this? And what do I do about this? So yes, mentoring is powerful.
Yes.
It can be short term, it can be long term, and it can develop into something very, very precious.
And that kind of brings me to that little question of, do you do anything specific to set this up? And it's like, you don't even have to plan. I mean, these happen all the time, and taking advantage of these moments and how they end up growing, and with people that are just in your life, and reaching out to them. And there was a gal that I was playing. I picked up some pickleball. I'm not very good, by the way, but but it's really fun. So I am not the athlete that my husband is. Anyway, but I met this gal, and she recently lost her husband. So I said, well, let's go on a bike ride. And the things that open up when you just do on a bike ride, even locally, and I have no idea where she stands with her faith or anything else in other parts of her life, but just talking through them, it's like she just needed to talk. And sometimes just giving people that chance to talk, no matter, it's no sort of group that you're starting. You are you're opening up your life and your home many times to be able to share that with others, whether it's, whatever type of group. And usually I with mentoring, it's a woman to woman. There's so many things we can share there, especially after you get through. I mean, how many children and grandchildren and great grandchildren you have? You're
Yes.
able to kind of see what's coming.
Well, and I think there are some basic tenets of that. And I think certainly love is a huge tenet. But I think a lack of judgment is another huge tenet.
Okay.
I think listening is huge. I think listening is huge. I think listening is huge.
Huge. Oh, can you repeat that again?
Because when you hear, what you hear tells you what to say. What you hear tells you what to say. And also, I think watching body language very closely to hear what they're not saying.
Interesting.
I might say to someone, is there a question that you still have that you're hesitant to ask? But
Interesting.
then I've got to shut up.
Then you've got to shut up. Yeah.
Because if I fill the space, they will not ask the question.
Yes.
If I just shut up and smile.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I just have to share this one example. Oh, I spoke for a leadership conference in Pennsylvania. And I always get there early and make sure the room is set up and the microphone is great. And there was a guy about 45 years old sitting on the left-hand side on the aisle. He was the only one in the room. It was still early. And I got everything I wanted all set and walked over to him. And I said, good morning. I'm Naomi, and I'm going to be the speaker. It's a great leadership conference. And I just was wondering if it's a good day for you.
Interesting. And quiet.
He said, it's the worst day of my life.
Oh.
I said, would you like to share that with me? And he pulled out his wallet and he said, this is my wife and I were standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon last summer for our 25th wedding anniversary trip. And that night, she told me she was leaving me. Today, our divorce is final. It's the worst day of my life.
Wow.
Now, I don't know what you would have done, Deborah, but I kind of think I do. This was not a Christian meeting. I had no clue what his faith was. I didn't care. I just kind of put my arm on his shoulder, unobtrusively, but just put it on his shoulder. And I kind of whispered in his ear a prayer. Father, please, please give comfort to this, my new friend. Amen. And I went about doing my speaking, and at the end of it, he was up there with tears running down his face. And he said, I was supposed to be here today.
Wow.
You helped me tremendously. You'll never know. So that's a mentoring that's spontaneous.
Yes.
As a result of one question. How's your day today?
Yeah. Wow.
Not in a flip way, but an honest question. How's your day today?
Wow.
Or something like that. Because of my spiritual faith, one of my favorite questions is, share with me your spiritual faith.
Huh.
And I'll just be quiet. And they might say, I'm Jewish. And I'll say, oh, I think that's very special. I think we serve the same God. They might say they don't, I'm kind of nothing. I'll say, well, that's interesting, but you're certainly made wonderfully by somebody, but we'll talk about that if you want to, but have a good day. You're not there to pound on them, but you're there to be a light in a dark world. We are in a really dark world, Deborah. You know that as well as I do. And with all the work you do. and we need to be light. So those are some fun examples.
And it's interesting when you have that sort of personality, and you can get beyond yourself, like get over yourself, as I say. Just get over your,
Get over yourself.
Yes, get over yourself.
You're not the point.
Yes, I know. And you can start reaching out. People see that there is something different, or in that confidence that you have inside. And it was interesting. This was one of those high school reunions I went to. Now I don't always have time to go to a reunion, but I think this was one of the first. And a friend I had gone to school with in high school and at the beginning of college, and she came up to me and she said, "I always knew there was something different about you." And I think I have found what you were finding. And she had, discovered how important it was to have the power of that, believing in something bigger than yourself, faith. And it was interesting that people see that because you were able to relax in it and to know, well, there's bigger stuff out there. I mean, anytime you go to the mountains, you can see it. Anytime you go into nature and you can see, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, but it's neat that you're able to get beyond yourself and get, and that's what it takes. It does. Just taking that little bit of courage and asking that question, how's your day? Or how are you doing? And a lot of what that gentleman got out of that conference, it was not just what you said in front. It was what happened before, that he was able, and his heart was opened up to hear what you had to say. Because a lot of people,
I cared. And he was no longer there as, I guess I have to be here. Yes. But he was there to open up. You're very
yes. Well. And he would listen.
I often say, people say, talk to me about openings of speeches, because we often talk about openings, how powerful openings are and closings and blah, blah, blah. And I say, your original opening is the pamphlet that goes out with what you're going to say and do and who you are. That's kind of your real opening. But a secondary opening is when they first see you in the room. Are you so busy around I don't get water and I don't like the way this microphone is, that you don't see them. Early enough to be settled and to be calm and to meet everybody in the front row or down the center or the sides or wherever you're going to go, so that people know you before you even start. And of course, I'm giving an example that would not refer to all of the people that are preciously watching this video, but you have your own platforms where you need to enter that platform, whether it's the office you work at or wherever it is. You need to enter that platform settled and ready to be open to others, because there are people there that need you in that next little alcove. So be open and listen to what they might not be saying.
What great wisdom there. I mean, this applies to an office. It applies to any sort of company. It applies to home. It applies to if you have family around you, or even in your home environment. Spend the time settling yourself, getting yourself really ready to be able to give even to your family. I mean, as moms or grandparents, and I see so many just stressed out about every little thing. Everything has to be such and such, and you're going to stress those kids out. My gosh. Yes. And, life is too short, and taking things as it comes and saying, okay, can't find the keys today, better, where did I put those darn things again? And, can't find this, project that I just did for work. And, how often has that happened? We didn't file it right, and you're looking somewhere on your computer and you've wasted 2 hours. All of that sort of stuff happens. It just happens. That's part of life. But taking the time so you can give to others. And you gave such a great example as a speaker, because you're on a platform. And when you are performing, there's a certain mindset and a certain readiness. But you want to be ready a lot earlier than when you show up. And when you show up...
It's interesting because on many of the platforms of our world, and again, generic platforms, on many of them, we seem untouchable. Certainly when you speak her often, you don't feel, ooh, she's way up there on that platform, or he's
Right.
way up there on that platform. Or you meet an author and, oh my goodness, I don't know if he wants to sign my book or not. There's a little bit of a mystique about
Yes.
someone that you think is on a platform that is higher than you are.
Right.
But very often, if they are really, really successful at influence, they come off the platform. I always have a stairway in the middle of my platform, whether it's 2,000 in the platform or 200, because I walk down and I go into the audience. I don't stay there. I might turn around and come back. So there's better visual acuity. But they know I'm going to come down. They know I'm going to talk to them. Once you get eye contact with one person, we've had 400 employees. And if I walk through that building, it's interesting because Jim and I are now really retired from our company that we started, and our son-in-law and daughter have taken it over. And we still have offices there. So when I go in, even though I am not currently there, I can sense that special feeling they have for me. Oh,
She's
Mrs. Rhode, you're here. I haven't seen you for a while, Mrs. Rhode. It's so much fun because there's a little bit of awe. And it's so much fun to be able to say, oh, I'm so glad to see you again. You're the one that cuts off her hair and gives it to people that are having chemo, and then it grows fast. And how many times have you cut your hair off? You cut your hair off 9 times. Oh my word! I'm so proud of you.
That's neat. Yeah.
Have towards you and get right into their life, because that's where you make the influence. That's where you make the influence.
That's exciting, and again, getting over yourself, and tell me a little bit. We take little tangents on these, which is always fun. It's a conversation, but tell me a little bit about the company, because you had this smart practice.
Yes.
And tell us just a little bit about that and how you actually built that, but you're still you walk into that building and you're still focused on them.
Well, it's a medical dental company that we started, and it now has divisions in 7 countries, and it's well over $100 million company, and has been really nicely successful. And it's wonderful to now have our son-in-law and daughter in it. He's a physician. She's a dentist. They have 6 children, and the 2 oldest are dermatologists, and they have dermatology suites in one of our 5 buildings. So it's gone on into the family. And so that's really kind of exciting. But probably the most exciting thing about that company was that through the years, we spoke for dentistry and medicine and some of the other professions almost every weekend for 42 years.
Wow.
And we had 9 to 11 seminars, 3-day seminars, all over every year. And we did 15 marriage enrichment cruises. And but all of this we kind of had a triangle business, Deborah, of speaking, seminars, and product. And they fed each other.
Wow.
So if someone heard us speak, they wanted to come to a seminar, and they were more apt to buy a product. So it was a very exciting time, and a time that we could share in people's lives very significantly. Right. For example, one couple landed in Hawaii for one of our seminars, and we went to the airport to pick them up because they'd gotten a message that his father had just died.
Oh, wow.
So he had to go back all the way to Alabama. Well, we were very significant in that time of his grief. And that was probably 10 years ago. Well, 2 days ago, his mother died. And we had a long phone call with them last night. We'll come to Alabama if you want us to for the funeral. No, come when you can stay and we can talk more and go to the lake. Okay, that'd be fine. But the important thing was his last paragraph of saying, you have no idea what that intersection of sharing and caring about our grief over my dad's death at that airport has endeared us to you for the rest of our lives.
Wow.
You're one of the most impactful couples we've ever met. Okay. Did we plan that? No, we didn't plan that. But we saw a need, and we were privileged to be there to meet that need. And that's a type of mentoring. It's a type of mentoring.
I really like the fact that you're mentioning these different types, because some people think mentoring has to be just a program, or you sign up for a group, you're in a small group, but mentoring, really at the heart of it, is sharing your life with another person, being open to that, and establishing some sort of relationship. And as a mentor and mentee, to be able to have the freedom to, go to somebody with questions. And as you mentioned, the older women to the younger women, and how that is a biblical principle. But today, finding people that will even at that level be able to feed into a life. I'm usually an initiator, and groups get together because I put them together, and I keep calling and I keep coordinating and all of this. And I have a lifetime group, and I've had them probably for about 20 years. And I shared them with them at the last meeting we had. I said, it's like nobody else really starts things hardly. I mean, they don't ask me. I'm the one that asks, usually, always. But when you realize, well, that's one of the gifts that I have, I guess,
that's your gift. And you
don't want to be resentful of it. You want to just use it.
The one are so powerful. I don't know if I've shared with you ahead of time about this, but a year and a half ago, it'll be 2 years this summer, during COVID, Jim and I were sitting in the hot tub in our backyard. Lots of talking in that hot tub. And I said to him, you know what, honey? Is there anything I haven't done that I should do? Why did I ask him that? Because in a sense, Jim has mentored me. He's always pushed me. He has said, you're so good at this, go do this. Or I'll help you. He has always pushed me. So I said, is there anything I should do that I haven't done? And he said, well, Naomi, you've always been afraid of being a widow. Why have I been afraid to be a widow? Because my mother was a widow from the time I was 13 till the time I was 23 when she died. And during that 10-year period, she was sick, didn't have money, couldn't work. And I went through that with her, and it was hard. So I always thought, please, I don't want to be a widow when I've got kids to raise. And then, please, I don't want to be a widow. Okay. So he said, why don't you start a group for widows?
Wow.
Well, those of us that read scripture know that that's pretty biblical. We're supposed to care about widows. What are we supposed to do with them? Well, I thought about it, and I prayed, and there were 8 women around the country that I knew of that were all widows that had all come to our seminars or knew them through speaking or something. None of them knew each other. They all were widows within 2 months or 17 years. Wow. So a broad range of loss and different ages. Some were quite young and some were older. I made a pro forma and I sent it out to these 8 women, and I said, what I'd like to propose is a 1-hour Zoom call every week, 7 to 8 on Wednesday morning. I will start with a 7 or 8 minute little preview beginning, choosing a subject for the day. I will be the facilitator. I'm not a widow. I will be the facilitator. And then I will send you questions, and the 8 of you would answer those questions if you all say yes. Well, they all said yes.
Wow.
So we're in our second year and our 29th week, every week. And we had a 3-day retreat where they all came to Phoenix in the fall and just had a ball. Now, 3 of these gals had their doctorates. These are very sharp women.
Wow.
And I have saved all of the notes. This is what my notes look like for a week. I start out with what I'm going to say, and then the questions for them. Mm-hmm. And I have one for every week for 2 years and 29 weeks. Okay, so what's happened? Well, we've talked a lot about grief. We've talked about the stages of grief. We've talked about the seasons of life. We've talked about perspective. We've talked about callings in our life. We've talked about what's next in life. We've done so many things. And the people that have lost their spouses a long time ago have been so reassuring to those who have lost them recently. We've had admissions during these times where they've shared things about maybe their marriages that nobody knew that weren't very good. Wow. And that they are weeping over alone, and now they can share it with someone because we don't know any of their neighbors or their friends or their family. It has just been powerful. So my goal was that others would start groups like this. There's grief share in churches and probably synagogues, which is excellent, but not more one-to-one in small groups over just being a widow. Well, there have been 2 widow groups started because of this. And now one of the gals in Minneapolis who happens to have she's a dentist, and she is putting up the money to have a book written and published on how to start these groups. That is going to be a result of our group. So our group has been called the Safe, Strong Place. And another word for God is place. He's the place. So it's Safe, Strong God, or Safe, Strong Place. Anyway, so my current passion has been to work with this group. And so excited to know that it's going to spread and that other people will be able to do it. And I have all the curriculum that will be available so that if anyone wants to start a group, I've got a template that will let them start it, that will help them get started. So that's kind of a different type of mentoring. That is a group mentoring. And
I will put that link in our notes just so people have that sort of contact with you. What an amazing resource.
Yeah, it's been really, really special to do that. And, it's interesting because I'm a life coach and I am a speaking coach. And mentoring is very different than life coaching or speaking coaching.
Yeah.
When you come to me and you want speaking coaching, I help you with the recipe, so to speak, on how to be absolutely powerful on that platform and work through the development of a great speech. Okay, that's speech coaching. If I am doing life coaching, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a consultant. A consultant comes in and has a pre-planned program that has worked in other places that probably could work here. Certainly a counselor has a degree in excellently determining where there might be some mental issues or some other problems that may even need referral to some kind of medications or other things. Life coaching is so much fun because the only thing I do is ask questions. That's all I do. Because people have the answers inside themselves. And if they find their own answer, it's much more powerful than if I were to give them an answer. Yeah. So I'm really enjoying both speaking and life coaching.
Oh, that's great. That is so great. And it sounds like, one of the little questions was, what's next for Naomi was, as widows, all of the things that you're doing there. And it was really interesting how you said your husband is, one of your mentors. And my husband, we just celebrated another anniversary. We were married on leap year. And so we have an anniversary every 4 years. Yes. But we celebrate. Yeah, we celebrate every year. But anyway, he mentioned to me while we were away, he said, there's a certain nonprofit that we've been a part of. And he says, you could run this. And I said, oh, I don't want to be a president of another nonprofit. I was president of our LA chapter of our speaking, NSA. I said, I do not feel that calling at all in my life. But he said, no, you could totally do it. And I said, I was kind of fighting him on that. But as I thought about it, I thought, there's those same little questions that come through that I speak to people about. And part of my keynote is, getting beyond some of those questions of, oh, well, I'm just, people won't take me seriously at this point in my life, or they won't, I'm not good enough in this area, or I can't do, this sort of thing. And all of those little questions that we tend to go back, and they come over and over and over and over and over again in our lives. And I thought, it's good for me to have to deal with some of those same questions, because I know this is exactly what so many people, even in meeting another contact or in reaching out, like you've reached out to the widows and you've reached out, and people don't initiate it. They don't reach out because they think, oh, they won't take me seriously. They don't do all of that. And even going into music performing is like, are people going to think, oh, she's just expanding in these shows to, it's a hobby sort of thing. And, that sort of thing, and they call it that. This has been my profession. I work in this field. So it's just kind of interesting, some of that self-doubt, and you have to get beyond that. And Naomi, it's just so exciting with, working with the widows and with, and the impact that they will have in helping others.
Oh, because I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. It's an area, it's a time of life. Women live longer than men. Women end up having more money than men because they have to manage it at that point in their life. And what do you do? I mean, there's so many things that are involved when you lose, especially if you've been married for a long period of time, you've had a family, you've got all sorts of things to deal with. And there's a lot that goes on emotionally. And so how wonderful that is. That's great. So,
I think we probably don't recognize who mentors us very often. Often it's our spouse or it's very close friends because they know us the best.
Yes.
And especially if you have a very good relationship with your spouse. And I have a phenomenal relationship. And when our kids were in high school, I was on a committee that brought an organization called Bible Study Fellowship to Phoenix.
Okay.
And I was pretty excited about it because it's almost like a seminary type program. It's very deep in its scholarship. And they asked me to be a leader. And I got all excited. And I said to Jim, they're going to call me in 2 weeks to say, I say yes or no, but don't you think I should do this? And I knew he would say yes, because he pushes me to do everything. And he said, well, wait a minute. We've started speaking in dentistry and medicine. And there are a lot of women that can do that Bible study fellowship teaching. But maybe not a lot of women that have got strong values that can speak in the secular world.
Wow.
I'd like you to continue to speak with me in the secular world. And it was the right decision.
Yeah. Yep.
So
as I say, you're not preaching to the choir. You're not speaking to the choir.
Listen to those who love us the most.
Yes.
Love us the most. I have 3 children, 12 grandchildren, and we're expecting our 7th great grandchild.
Oh my gosh.
And, I just must tell you this, and I know our time is getting close, but we have a daughter that lives 7 doors from us. And we were living way out in Scottsdale, and we were leasing a house temporarily and found another one that was even further out that we wanted. And she said, you know what, Mom? We'd like you to be closer to us.
Wow.
You're getting to be the age where maybe we could help you.
Wow.
We bought a second house. It's going to be an Airbnb. Would you live in it for a while. So we're living in half the space on the main. But guess what? There's an upstairs to this house.
Wow.
And up there, there's a living room and a bedroom and a little kitchen and a bathroom. And that is now called the Rhode Retreat. And it's open to family friends, Grand Canyon University friends where our grandson goes to college. And it's open to all these people. And it's booked almost all the time.
Wow.
So what do we avail ourselves of? The opportunity to do more mentoring. And it's our gift to them. So this is a kind of life. Now, one of the questions that you and I talked about in advance, which I would like to end my thoughts with,
yes,
was what's next for me?
Yes.
And, gee whiz, Naomi is 83 years old. What's next? What could possibly be next? Well, the biggest thing on my mind right now is what kind of a legacy am I leaving?
Yes.
And it's not just its influence, what kind of influence, what kind of learning. It's not stuff. I feel that people are caught up at my age, post-depression, with the thought that they have to leave money for their children. If you've raised them well and they're doing well, give your money to nonprofits now.
Yes.
Give it to them now. So that's part of the legacy of trying to figure all this out so that when the time comes that we're called to a heavenly home, we've left a legacy that's sound and strong, that is built on great values in a free country, a free world, and a whole lifestyle built on faith in God. That's what I want my legacy to be. To God be the glory.
Naomi, it's never too early and it's never too late to think about that. And people don't start early enough, I think. And, we've raised our sons to be launched and self-supporting. and you really do, it's nice to be able to leave things. But I was very, thankful for, some of the things in my life. But I tell you, it is such a joy to be able to give and enjoy that joy of giving at this point in our lives. I think as we give, there's such joy there as well. So I think that is just incredible. You've left writings, you've left influence on people, and that is so very valuable. You can't buy that. You have to be able to have people give that, freely. And that's just a wonderful, really a wonderful legacy. And thank you for sharing that. And that's kind of one of our ending that I wanted to know what was next for Naomi. I just feel this was just such a special, special time. And are there any just closing words that you have for our audience?
Well, I want to be sensitive to the fact that people are watching from all different areas of interest and all different areas of hope versus fear. And I guess my closing thought would be, I just would pray for everybody that's on this call, that your hearts will be more calm because you were here, more fulfilled because you were here, and more hopeful. Yes. That's my closing thought.
And hope. Without hope, in fact, I don't have my band of hope with me, but the book, The Summit, that is what the character has to have throughout is hope. And she can't get to her summit without hope, without that band of hope. And if you don't have that book, please at least look it up and get it. It would just be great for that. So, well, thank you so much for being with us today, Naomi. This was a pleasure. Next week, I will be speaking about groupthink, which is quite something these days, of how the crowd just kind of goes together. And really the dangers of groupthink and not thinking for ourselves. And as we think about mentoring and about the influence that we have, whether we are a business owner, small business owner, I'm a lifetime entrepreneur, entertainer, the whole thing, or whether you have chosen to, raise your kids at this point, whatever point you are at, you can make your own decisions, and that's extremely important. So I hope everyone joins us. You can always reach me at womenathalftime.com or any of my websites, DeborahJohnsonSpeaker.com, Goals for Your Life. Oh, of course, people love the music, DJWorksMusic.com. And as this plays, I have a lot of Easter music out as well. And I just thank you all for being with us, and I'll look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. Share and follow us for new shows to inspire you and encourage you in your life's journey. You can find all of our articles and links at womenathalftime.com.